Hi, welcome to Bookmark. I'm your host, Don Noble. Today's guest is the novelist Lauren K. Denton. Denton's most recent novel is The One You're With. Lauren Denton is the author of 5 novels which have appeared since 2017 at the astounding rate of 1 per year. I spoke with Lauren Denton in Studio UA in the Digital Media Center on the campus of the University of Alabama. Lauren, it is nice to see you again.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I suffered from a delusion for a while that you and I had, in fact, done an interview on Bookmark.
Right.
And I was wrong.
Yes.
And what I had done, the confusion was that I remember you and I had a really nice, friendly chat in Monroeville a few years ago. Your second book or whatever had come out, and I remember you and I were talking about it, and I thought, well, I must have had it in my head. Well, this is a novelist I should interview, but then that didn't happen.
Never happened.
So here we are.
I'm glad to be here.
And now, since this is actually the first time, let me ask you about yourself. I mean, the viewers may not know who you are. I know that you're born and raised in Mobile, and
yes,
and then
go from there.
Auburn.
I know it feels kind of dicey to say that in Roll Tide country.
Not at all.
But I left Mobile. I actually went to college first in Birmingham. I transferred to Auburn and graduated with a degree in psychology from Auburn, which I took to a magazine company in Birmingham. I worked at Southern Progress in Birmingham, which at that point put out Southern Living and Cooking Light and several magazines that are not in existence anymore except Southern Living. And while I was there, that's kind of when I started writing down some of the ideas that had been bouncing around in my head for years. I never had having a psychology background, I didn't do any creative writing training, but I just read a whole lot. I have a whole life of just being a voracious reader, as I'm sure most of your authors are.
Well, some are, some aren't.
Are and some aren't, yeah. But I live in Homewood with my husband and my 2 daughters. And
I looked at your webpage, some of your printed materials about you. This is not meant to be testy, but you made a list of 10 novels that you recommend all the time.
Yes.
Sort of your 10 reliable, these are wonderful. 9 of them were by women. One of them was Clyde Edgerton, who's of course a wonderful guy.
yes.
And I thought, no Faulkner, no Hannah, no William Gay.
Oh my goodness! I don't think I realized that there's only female writers.
9.
9 out of the 10.
And Walking Across Egypt.
Yes.
Was
yes,
which
Walking Across Egypt
lots
made
of
the
fun.
cut. Yes.
Your sensibility absolutely runs that way.
I guess it does, and when I write, the stories that come out, I guess are influenced by what I've been reading, which is probably why I go more in the women's fiction side rather than the deeper Southern fiction, like your Faulkners and your.
And you have said in more than once, in different places, that you're a real, as we all are, a real fan of Pat Conroy. But you forgot to put his name on the list.
I know. Well, you can't recommend them to everybody, I feel like. Some people, Beach Music was the first book that I read of his. Lords of Discipline, I loved. I've read 2 or 3 times. But I don't feel like Lords of Discipline I can go recommend to everybody. It might be a certain type of reader.
Or the same thing with Prince of Tides, really. There's some
they're
rough
heavy
stuff
stories,
in
but
there.
they're beautiful.
Yeah, he was a beautiful man. We really do miss him.
Right.
So there you are. You're at a publishing house, and you're a psychologist, and you made. The reason I'm moving in this direction is because recently you put out a novel a year for 5 years, but there was a period of time when there were false starts, when there were novels that didn't get done.
Right.
What kept you going through that?
I think just the hope of one day having a book on a shelf. I knew for a long time I wasn't thinking about being an author. I didn't know, I didn't grow up wanting to be an author because I just thought there were people who read books. I was firmly in that camp, and then there are the people who write the books. And it wasn't until late in college, early years out of college, that I started thinking maybe I could make one of these books. I could write my own, but it did come in fits and starts. I would write couple dozen pages of a book that I was real excited about, and then lose steam and put it to the side and start another one. And I did that for, I don't know, over 10 years. And then I just found a story idea that felt like it had legs, and I started going on it.
It's not unusual. It's really not. I remember Daniel Wallace and I have become friends over the years, and I think Daniel wrote 4 whole novels that got thrown away before he.
I bet they were really good.
Well, they're gone, so we're not going to know.
Right.
He didn't think so.
Yeah.
And he sent them out. I mean,
they just didn't get
were
picked up.
rejected. They were not published. But it took him a while to get going until he found his voice. The conversation that you and I had in Monroeville, which was now, it has to be 10 years ago. No, maybe not. Maybe not 10, but
several years ago.
a while.
Right.
I think it was your very first novel. You were kind of a city girl in Mobile, right? But your first novel takes place largely on a dairy farm.
Hurricane Season is my second novel.
Is it second Hurricane Season?
But it does take place on a dairy farm.
And
You're right.
what is out, and that dairy farm is somewhere in Baldwin County?
Yes. It is a fictional dairy farm, but I had the map of Baldwin County up on my computer screen all the time, and I put it in a location in my mind where it would be feasible to have a dairy farm. There's a lot of farmland back there.
There are some, aren't there?
There is, and where I had it in my head, there's now a dairy farm there, and even if it's not in actuality.
And I remember one of the things that happens in that novel, and because I had spent a lot of time on a dairy farm myself, one of the things that happens in that novel is that the really, really lovely couple, the husband and wife who own that farm, are unable to have a child. They are real, and it's made them edgy. I mean, they've gotten kind of tense about the whole thing, which doesn't help.
Right.
But, and I was reading along, and I can't remember now whether you did this explicitly or whether I just deduced it. But there's no place you want to be if you're worried about fertility. There's no place you want to be less than a dairy farm. You have all those cows and all that milk, all those calves.
I put poor Betsy in a difficult situation.
I mean, it's like all day long everybody's reminded of of
birth and
nursing.
That's right.
It was just a torment.
Yes. Well, it's funny. I knew that I wanted to set a story on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I think I thought it was a quaint idea to have a story set on a farm. And so I just decided to create one. And the whole aspect of them not being able to have kids was not in my original idea. I was in our zoo in Birmingham. And I just kind of had this mental image. I was with my kids, and they have a petting zoo portion.
Yeah.
And they were sticking their arms in the goat pens, and I was pulling them back, and I just had this thought of these 2 children in a farm setting. And then I thought, okay, what if the kids don't belong on that farm? Who would those kids be if they don't belong to the farmer? So then that's when the whole idea of adding in this thread of infertility came in there. And poor Betsy, got to be experiencing her own tense situation on a dairy farm.
And the reason the kids they've been placed there with their aunt for a while because their mother is pursuing, trying to figure out whether she can be a professional photographer or not, and whether she can make that commitment, that leap into, she was working in a diner as a waitress or something, isn't she?
She's in a coffee shop.
Coffee shop, yeah.
Yes.
So
with 2 young children.
Right. And I'll tell you something I thought was going to happen in that novel. I thought that the professional photographer who was her mentor was going to hit on her
Okay.
and seduce her and
Right.
ruin her
A
life.
lot of people thought that.
And he didn't.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and then in the subsequent novels, as one moves along, there are men who are, there's one man in Summer House who leaves a nasty note, deserts his wife by way of a note that he sticks to the refrigerator or something
The
like
coffee
that.
pot.
Yeah, I mean, that's low. But most of these are novels, this is tedious. Apparently I'm having a lot of trouble getting there. These are novels by a woman meant to be read by women, mostly. But the men are nicer usually than I am accustomed to finding. A lot of the novels of this kind, the men are awful.
Right. Yeah.
But your men are not awful.
Well, I'm glad.
I don't think so,
Some
anyway.
of well, the one with the note in the coffee
Oh,
pot
yeah, that's
was
low.
pretty rough. I think I don't know. I have a really good husband, and so that sort of colors the men. But I also, a lot of the stories, the women have walked away, or the men have walked away because I think, not that I don't support marriage, but I think if I'm telling a woman's story, a story of her figuring out something, her traveling through a situation, a lot of times it's easier to do when she's on her own and she's got to figure things out on her own. So sometimes I have to get the husbands out of the way in order for them to move into what they need to learn on their own.
Well, there are lots and lots of popular novels in which there is a matter of fact, I got tired of reading them after a while. It was this awful, usually the husband who's about 42. If he's a dentist, he runs off with the hygienist. If he's if he's a lawyer, he runs off with a client. But,
right.
And then the woman is bereft, and she has solace with this little group of buddies that, and they all comfort one another and drink Chardonnay in the afternoon.
That tends to be how.
But you don't do
go.
that exactly. You
Well,
do something different. They may. Some of the men are not worth much,
right.
but they're not rotten.
I try to do. You're right that a lot of the stories do kind of tend to follow the same arc, and I try to do it a little bit different. And especially with my latest novel, my goal in The One You're With was to have a really good husband, because
Absolutely.
we had Worth who was kind of ended up being worthless. I did not choose his name for that reason. In the Summer House, and then Glory Road, her husband had left. Yep. But my goal in The One You're With was to have a good man, a good father, a good husband who's really kind of fighting for his family.
Yeah.
So that felt a little fresh.
I have plenty to ask about The One You're With.
Oh, good.
But there is something else that's going on from book to book, and that is, I don't know, it's not front and center. It's not right on the top of things. But in book after book, there is a connection between a woman and a kind of entrepreneurship, a kind of business or enterprise. Right. In one novel, it's the twig shop.
The gardener.
In one novel,
She's a gardener.
It's a kind of a
Glory Road.
Glory Road. There's a
and it is
a
called
nursery
twig,
kind
right,
of thing.
A flower nursery.
And then another woman in the Summer House, I think she wants to start a beauty salon.
Right. Yeah.
And so on. And there's something going on there. It's not explicit, but there's a thing that you're doing where you have these women who wish to be business people.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. I think it's ingrained in me now. So I've been writing books the whole time I've had children, which is not how I thought things would go. I didn't start publishing until after I had, my kids were not toddlers anymore. They were young though, and I like having my kids see me doing something that isn't, and that doesn't have anything to do with them. I like that they see me doing something else that I put effort into, and that is hard, and that I do, and it does come out. I hadn't really thought about that, but all of the women in my stories do have, they're making their own living. They're doing something that they enjoy, and there's probably something deeper than I've thought about.
There's an antique shop in the
in the Hideaway. She's
right.
She's an interior designer there. I've got a designer in my last book, and there was the hairdresser in the Summer House. So they're just putting their hand to a hobby or a talent, and I guess that's kind of what I like to think that I'm doing. aside from having kids, I'm using talents.
Yes, well, it is. It's mostly. I mean, they're most, and they are in Glory Road, and there's no conflict particularly in Summer House. The salon kind of becomes available,
Right.
but in other places, like in Glory Road, I think somebody wants to get a hold of her nursery or something.
Right. There's
Yeah.
something trying to take it away. Yeah. I guess that's always. There's got to be some sort of conflict.
Well,
There's
there
got to be a hill
does.
to
There does,
climb.
doesn't there? The obviously from the books, the plots may be premised on the husband is absent, but the plots are about relationship.
Right.
They are about, if they're not about marriage, they're about why not marriage, and what do you think people take away from the books? Would a innocent reader read your books and say, "Oh boy, I want to get married. It sure looks great"?
That is not my goal of making somebody feel any particular way about marriage, but I think I like to write about relationships because we all have them, whether it's with your mother or a sister or children or a spouse, and they're messy and they're hard, and even the good ones can be messy, and the good ones are hard, and I just like to explore that a little bit. And sometimes it's making sense of things that I've had happen in my life or things friends have had.
Marriage is marriage. We all do it. We do the best we can.
Right.
But there are a couple more in your book. So one is Sisters, which is an interesting. I have two daughters.
Okay.
And they're really, really grown.
Okay.
And they're 50 and 48.
Right.
And they're still at it.
Yeah.
They're still having trouble. And the other is mother and daughter in your novels.
Right. A lot of mother
in
and daughters.
Karamazov, it's fathers and sons. But in
Exactly.
your novels,
He writes what he knows. I write what I know.
Mothers and daughters.
Right.
What do you think that the generalities would be on those relationships? Mothers and daughters, why is that so hard? Sisters, why is that so hard?
I don't know. I think women are more emotional. I think the struggle between mothers and daughters is going to be really different than the men and the husbands and or fathers and sons. I think there's just a lot of room for, I hate to say drama, because I have a great relationship with my mother. And a lot of my books, some of them have good mother-daughter, some of them not so much, but the ones that are not so much, I imagine what that might be like. I really have a wonderful relationship with Mom. But I think maybe it helps people look at situations from a different point of view. I think sisters, again, we've got women. A lot of times people in the same family look at an event through totally different eyes and take away. I think with Betsy and Jenna in hurricane season, they lived the same life. They had the same parents and same household, but they viewed their upbringing differently, and that affected their adulthood. And I just think that's really interesting to dig into.
I do too. I think that what happens with siblings is you think they're going to be alike, considering they have all the same DNA.
Right.
Well, one hopes.
Right.
And
Right.
and the same upbringing, and they ate the same vegetables as children, and they're
Could
really
go totally
different.
right. Yeah.
Love, young love. Young love's always nice, but a couple of your books have mature
Yes,
love,
they
and
do.
I think that's fun. I mean, Summer House especially. There's this old dude who's
Oh, I like him so much.
he's Coach.
Coach Beaumont.
He's actually a retired investment banker or something, isn't he?
Yes.
Coach.
Yes.
What do you tell in the world about mature love?
I mean, obviously, sometimes I feel a little bit of an imposter writing about these people when I'm not there, but I just love the idea. Well, I love writing about older people because I love having the wisdom and the perspective, usually balanced with a younger person who's kind of trying to feel her way in. But I just love the idea that your life doesn't stop when you hit your 40s, 50s, 60s. My definition of older keeps going up as
Mine
I
too,
get
yeah.
older. Yeah, so I don't know what I think old is now, but I like the idea of being able to turn a new leaf over, find a new love, find a new passion.
Yeah.
And I like watching that happen on the page. I love reading about it and writing about it.
I remember when I was reading Summer House, I thought that was one of the most attractive retirement homes I'd ever heard of. I think I even wrote in the paper or something that I'd go live there myself.
I think I would too.
you made it, and they have barbecues, and they go up for boat rides, and they have an annual cocktail or a daily cocktail party or something.
Right.
I thought it was Bon Secours, right?
It was on Bon Secours,
Yeah.
Safe Harbor Village.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And then there's the new one, which I really, the new one, the one you're with, really tickled me. It infuriated me for a while. I thought, this is crazy. You have this collection of really good people. A really nice husband and a really nice wife and really nice children, and they're all prosperous and successful. And in one day, is she 18? The girl, 17, 18, 19, something like that. She shows up. And I mean, it happens quite early in the novel. So this is not a spoiler in that sense.
No, it's in there early.
He's a physician, right?
He's a pediatrician.
He's a pediatrician, right? And a girl shows up at his office and says, "You're my father."
Right.
Well, it's everybody's nightmare.
But a bit of a bomb to drop on his lap.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's true. All right. Now.
It happens to be true.
Now we go back in time.
Yeah.
And this is where Birmingham Southern, I think, played a real part.
A little bit of a role there.
Real part in your novel. It's all these nice people, these nice married couple. They were students at Birmingham Southern, right?
Yeah, I didn't call it Birmingham
I
Southern,
know.
but that's basically what it was. Yeah.
Right.
I had to change a few details, so I just changed the name of the school.
Well, there's nothing in the novel that Birmingham Southern wouldn't be proud
No,
of. I
not
don't
at
think.
all. No, not at all.
And then he goes to medical school,
Right.
And so on. And they're happy, happy, happy forever. Well, actually, there's a little hint in there at one point, which I thought was perfectly human. It said, I forget whether it's him or her. One of them says, "Life together is not as exciting as it used to be." So
It's a little, yeah.
Who said?
I
He's
think that
saying, or
was.
she's-
I think that was her. I think that was Edie. Just, things get after you're in a marriage, in the middle of your marriage. I guess things
Right.
get,
Well, they get exciting, all right, because
very
this
exciting.
18-year-old person, very nice person, she's an orphan, and she is his daughter. And 19 years ago, when they had broken up for the summer, he had
spent the summer apart.
they
yeah.
spent they were not a couple.
Right.
All right. The crux of this is when she appears, it makes the wife nuts.
Yes.
I mean, she just loses it. Has he been unfaithful?
Oh, that's the big question.
Well,
I know.
I know the answer.
Right.
The answer is no.
Yeah, it was so hard. Edie was the hard one to get her to let her feel that, trying to put myself in her position.
Right.
How would you feel when technically they all the way things settled out, but just the shock of that and letting her feel that anger, but also you want readers to like her and to feel empathetic toward her. It felt like I was on a little balancing wire with her.
It would be fun in a world where you could maneuver these things, where you had a lot of power and control, to get 10 men to read that book and see what they thought, and 10 women, and let them and have a kind of
I would love
group
it,
discussion.
yes.
It'd be kind of fun, because I thought, come on, lady.
I know.
I mean, and she says, our whole life has been a lie. Our marriage is a fraud. No.
Right.
No. I thought, wake up.
But she did. It was a big shock. It was a big
Yes.
shock to find out that there was this 18-year-old human that she never knew about.
Well, he didn't either.
And he didn't either. To his great credit, he did not either. That's
mean,
true.
she-
It was just a difficult
and
situation.
she's really nice.
All around, she is. She's a
And
good kid.
I kind of thought,
She's a good kid.
unless this thing is going to turn into a Stephen King novel, everything's going to be all right.
Right.
I mean, they aren't going to kill each other
Right.
or anything.
No, that's not my kind of.
And you did something like page 216 or something. You have a scene from Friends.
Oh, I did not mean for it to be a scene from Friends.
You put it on the screen. They're watching. It's on the television set.
Oh, well, Friends was later. Do you know, I had not put that together in my head till right now, that I had Friends on it as a rerun
Yeah.
in the waiting room.
Yes, we were on a break.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was that scene.
No, it wasn't.
But that's what everybody was saying
allusion
about
to Friends.
Yeah, I probably should have used a different sitcom.
Oh, I know. I thought it was wonderful. I thought you did it on purpose.
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, yes, I did.
Sure, because that was the crux of.
Yeah, I know. They were on a break.
Ross and Rachel fought for ages over.
That's the whole show.
He has this little infidelity when they are on a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're nice. They're really nice people.
They are nice people.
And this child who shows up. Well, by the way, I really liked the girlfriend from the summer 19 years earlier. Really did. I thought she was really super.
She was a spicy one. Yeah,
yes,
I liked her too.
I think
I did.
He wouldn't have been completely wrong had he stayed with her.
And that's part of the question of they made choices and.
Actually,
he could have gone.
She made the choice, though, didn't she?
Well, she did in this particular. Yeah, she did make the choice for him. So who knows what he would have.
I thought she was just as lovely as anybody could imagine. I don't know why you've published 5 books in 5 years, but you have.
I have.
So I feel perfectly confident to ask that. What are you doing next? You've written another 1 or 2 already that we don't know about?
Well, I do have, I have written another one.
Yes.
That will come out next year. So it will be 6 books in 6 years, which was not my game plan, but that is just how it's worked out.
That's a great plan.
So I'm currently I'm working on edits for that story. And then I do have a plan to just sort of breathe for a little bit before I start cranking on the next one. But that one will come out next October of next year.
Well, the way the publishing world is these days, you're really expected to do a lot of promoting.
You are.
So the minute the book is let loose, you're expected to go to work.
You are.
Selling it.
You're either writing or selling pretty much the whole time.
And you could use a breath.
I could use a breath, yes. I do really enjoy it. I love writing the stories, but it's a lot.
And you're no longer having to get up at 5 o'clock. Like when your children were little, you got up before dawn and wrote for 2 hours.
I wrote these first 2 couple of books between 5 and 7, and I don't have to do that anymore.
Now you can write before lunch.
Right, I do.
Right,
I try to finish by lunchtime.
Years and years. Lee Smith used to live here in town, and she and I are great friends. And she had 2 little kids when she was writing novels right here in Tuscaloosa. She would actually hire a babysitter. And the babysitter and the children would be in one room, and she would go into the bedroom and she'd say, "Don't call me no matter what."
Yeah, maybe if you're bleeding, but then you've got the babysitter. Right.
That's right.
I understand that.
So the new novel, will it be set in Alabama?
It is. It is set down in on a river near a little north of the Gulf Coast. Again, just an area
kind of
the world
river,
that I know.
fish river,
a little bit more north of like the Perdido area, Orange Beach, up in Lillian, Josephine, those types of areas down there.
Good.
Yeah, I just like to write about places that I've been and that I know well.
Publish it. Promote it.
Yes.
Take a vacation.
I know. I think I will.
All right, you have everybody's permission to rest.
Yeah.
In the meantime, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
This is really a charm. Thank you.